Well, hi there, I'm Heidi Villegas with Healing Harvest Homestead, and I'm out here in the garden this morning, just checking on things. I've been doing a lot of weeding lately, but I thought that today I would do a little chat on valerian. So I have a lot of medicinal herbs planted, and we also forage for local medicinal herbs that grow wild. And I have estimated before there are probably around 120 at this point different medicinal plants that we grow or forage here in North Idaho, which is amazing because God gives us what we need, right? So anyway, this is a kind of a chilly, cold spring day, and I just wanted to just chat about my valerian. And actually, this is my more mature valerian plant. It's probably about a meter high right now. And it's getting some beautiful flowers on it. You see I've got wire all around it, and that's because the deer like it for some reason. Maybe it helps them relax. So we're gonna walk over here, and this is a beautiful clump of marshmallow. I've got many other herbs here, but let's take a look at this valerian. I think you can see it a little better. This valerian is smaller. It's not as mature as the one over there, but it's still a nice specimen. I love that the flowers are coming up. You're going to see in the background here of my garden, we've got umbrellas shading some of the cold season vegetables. We used to have a huge high tunnel here, and we grew in the high tunnel, and it was amazing, but we had a freak snowstorm a couple of years ago at the end of March, and it crushed it. So we now have just our open beds, and everything's working out great. The high tunnel was wonderful, and maybe someday we'll get another one, but you know, things on the homestead, money can sometimes be an issue. But let's go ahead and talk about valerian. So this is a beautiful plant, and when the flowers open up, it smells so good. It's just a really pretty scent, which you wouldn't imagine because honestly the roots stink, and the root is the part that you use. So it makes a really nice garden plant, actually. A lot of people plant valerian just for the prettiness of it. But let's go ahead and talk about the medicinal benefits and uses of valerian, and then some of the contraindications and things you have to watch out for. And I'm also going to share about how to grow valerian as well. So valerian works on the nervous system to calm it. And that's just essentially what it does. That's its main activity here. Scientists have studied valerian because it's been used for thousands of years to help with this. And they're not really quite sure how it works. You know how scientists are. They always want to know how things work and pick out that little active chemical that's doing whatever. And that's not the way we know plants work, right? It is thousands of chemicals together, coming together to create an action in our bodies that's perfect. Science can't replicate that. Science can't replicate what God has made for us. Just my own personal belief system. But anyway, they have noted that it does increase the activity of a chemical called GABA, which is, GABA is a chemical that is released when you have anxious feelings, and it can help support just a healthy brain, a healthy nervous system. So valerian does help in that way. So here are some of the ways that people in modern times nowadays use valerian, and I use valerian myself for many of these things, but insomnia. Valerian is wonderful for people who have trouble getting to sleep or staying asleep. It's very strong. It's a very powerful, I believe, sedative on the nervous system. And for most people, it works like a charm. There's a small group of the population that has an opposite effect to valerian, and valerian can give them vivid dreams and even keep them up. I always tell people, if you're struggling with sleep and you want to try valerian, to definitely go ahead and use it on a night before you have nothing else going on the next day, just to see how your body reacts. And then from there, you can make decisions about how you want to use it or not. But personally, I take it almost every day. I do give my body a break every month or so for maybe a week or 2 or 3, and then I choose some other nervine herbs. And I've spoken before on my YouTube channel here about passion flower and skullcap and some of those other beautiful California poppies, another one, nervine herbs that help with sleep. But it's just good to take a break once in a while if you're taking something on for an ongoing basis. Valerian is also helpful for anxiety. So that is, insomnia and anxiety are really the 2 main primary ways valerian can benefit people. There have been studies on the combination between St. John's wort, which also has been shown to help with mild depression, mild to medium depression, and valerian root together. It's interesting because some of the studies I've read show that you shouldn't combine them together. They can have like negative effects, but most of the studies, and one I found just recently in the American Botanical Council, was indicating basically that they work together really, really well. And I would suspect that that would be the case. I've used St. John's wort myself, the tincture, as well as my valerian root, never had an issue. And I am a person who was clinically diagnosed with depression back in my 20s, and I couldn't take the medication. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I've been working on my issues very naturally, using herbs and exercise and other ways to handle anxious feelings. Depression is another way that valerian is often used. Now, valerian actually soothes anxiety and calms you. So in that regard, it can kind of make you feel like a little groggy if you take too much of it. And when you're talking about depression or sadness, sad feelings, I'm pretty careful when I'm working with clients who have depression with valerian. I'm just pretty careful about that. But with that said, scientists have proven that it can be helpful. PMS symptoms, that rage that some women get when they're heading into their period, or menopausal women, you get that feeling of anxiousness. Valerian's really helpful with that too. And then headaches and migraines. Valerian might be one you could choose if you suffer from migraine headaches. At the onset of a migraine, go ahead and take some and see if that might help you. It just, where all of our bodies are different, and it just kind of depends. And I just want to say right here, and you guys know this, I am not a medical doctor. I'm an herbalist. And so this is not medical advice by any means. And I'm not making any suggestions to treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any kind of issue here. I'm just sharing what I know about valerian root and how I use it with myself and clients that I work with for their wellness. So there are some contraindications for valerian. There's times and there's people who shouldn't use it. If you are pregnant or nursing, you should not take valerian. It's one of those plants that is very strong, and I say when you're pregnant or nursing, you need to be super careful and take. If you are taking herbs, choose ones that are generally regarded as safe and that have very benign effects on the body. And that's just my advice on that, or my suggestions on that. I have read scientific literature that says that it has not been evaluated on children under the age of 3, so it should be avoided with children under the age of 3. Now, as an herbalist, I believe, and the way I work, my practice is that if an adult, I like to choose herbs that if I'm working with an adult, that are safe enough, they should be safe enough that a child can use, depending on the dosage. You just reduce the dose enough. So I would say if you do have children under the age of 3, then I would suggest reaching out to an herbalist or somebody who knows about herbs and asking them and getting some advice from them too. But that was a contraindication that I did read, so I'm sharing that here. Another contraindication is driving, okay? You don't want to drive when you're taking valerian because it seriously can cause you to be a little tired, and you don't want to drive when you are under the influence of any kind of a sedative, and valerian does fall into that category. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So my husband had a root canal one time, and he was in a lot of pain, And this is when we lived off-grid in Cold Creek, Nevada. So this was several years ago. But the pharmacy didn't have his pain meds ready, and it was going to take an hour or two, and we had a long drive home. We lived an hour outside of town, and he just said, "Oh, I'm not going to take the pain medication." And I said, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yes." He says, "You have stuff for me. I know it." So we went home, and by the time we got home, the pain was really quite extreme. And he says, "Give me what you've got." And I thought, oh my goodness, because he just wasn't doing real well. So I didn't tell him what I gave him. He thought I was giving him willow bark tincture, but I gave him valerian and willow bark combined, and he fell asleep for about 8 hours, and he woke up and he felt great. The pain in his tooth was gone. It was pretty amazing. So valerian can actually be helpful for certain kinds of pain relief too. And we know that there is a cyclical action between anxiety and pain. So a lot of times if you can take care of the anxiety to an extent, the pain is going to be helped too. All right, let's talk about drug interactions really fast. Valerian is an herb that can have some interactions with certain drugs. So I would do research before if you're on any prescription meds, please do research before you use valerian. It can interact with certain antidepressants and benzodiazepines. Valerian can also have a negative interaction with alcohol use or other depressant drugs. So let's go ahead and talk about growing valerian very quickly in case you're interested in growing this wonderful plant. So this is a second-year plant, which means that if I want to, I can harvest the roots this fall. And that is the part used is the roots and rhizome of the plant. I may let it go a third year. So I've got 2 really beautiful large plants right now. I think what I'm probably going to do, and I'm kind of thinking into my future here, but I think I'm going to go ahead and harvest one of them and leave the other one. And I'm probably going to harvest the one over there that's wrapped in netting that the deer like. And then I'm probably going to have to do that next year. But I'm going to definitely save seeds and start another first-year plant next year. But they like wet feed, so you've got to keep the roots moist. They do really well in mostly full sun or part shade. And whenever I see that combination of full sun / part shade, that tells me that it cannot take blasting sunlight all day long. And that's actually my experience growing it in southern Nevada in the mountains. I could not grow it in Las Vegas, Nevada, but I was able to grow it when we lived off grid up in the mountains in Cold Creek, and it did quite well. I did have to put it in a shady area because the sun, we were at high altitude and the sun got really harsh for it. And here it does quite well. This is a full sun area, and that one over there in the netting does get more shade, so it seems like it's grown a little larger. I just want to put that out there, that if you grow your valerian, choose well. If you want to plant it in a garden bed for appearance, you might want to plant it in the center because it grows outward from the center, so it's kind of like a beautiful plant. And then the flowers are lovely, and like I said, the flowers can get to about a meter tall, so a little over 3 feet up to maybe like 4 feet is the height that a very mature, well-growing plant can get to. So I'm still kind of waiting to see how tall this one might get this year. That's also going to be a determiner as to whether or not I harvest it. Valerian is a perennial, so it will keep coming back. It can spread with the rhizomes, and in certain areas of the country, I think it's illegal. I'm not sure what states, potentially Maine, but I've heard that it can actually be very invasive and take over. I have never had that problem. I have to kind of baby my valerian. This is valerian, and I'm Heidi Villegas, herbalist and aromatherapist with Healing Harvest Homestead and the School of Botanical Arts and Sciences. And I have a lot of free offerings for you if you want to take advantage of those. Some printables, herbal remedy guides and cheat sheets, how to relax using herbs, which is a 24-page book with recipes and remedies. And I hope that you'll take advantage of those and get on my newsletter list, because I give free tips every single week on Wednesdays in my weekly newsletter. Or take a course from me. I love teaching herbalism to students. It's my passion, and I will hopefully see you in the school. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I would really appreciate it. All right, thank you. I will see you in another video soon.